The second area relates to the protection of marine wildlife. Will the Minister commit to a national inquiry on the systematic slaughter of dugongs, turtles and dolphins in the absence of the Queensland Government doing so? This in particular relates to the tragic slaughter of turtles and dugongs for commercial purposes in violation of Australian and state laws in much of far north Queensland, and in particular has the Dugong Task Force, a joint federal and state body, been reformed? If so, who is on the committee and what are their qualifications? And if so, how many meetings has the reformed task force had? And would the Minister consider the inclusion of dugong and turtle protection campaigners Colin Riddell and Bob Irwin on such a committee either now or in the future?
In terms of marine wildlife, I remain deeply concerned about the protection of all listed species, and I think it is fair to say for dugongs, sea turtles and dolphins, there is a particular attachment that all Australians feel and are deeply concerned. We need to be mindful of what the actual challenges to those populations are. The claims made by the people referred to by the Shadow Minister in his question are not claims that I necessarily agree with. I do not accept that the principal cause and the principal thing that you need to do in order to protect these species is to change the exemption of the Native Title Act. And this is not an argument that was advanced by the Shadow Minister. I want to make clear, I don't want to be seen to be burdening him, but he named a couple of people in his question. And they do run an argument that one of the principal problems for dugong populations in particular and sea turtles is that the environmental legislation does not apply in instances of harvesting for the purposes of native title. That's not an exemption the government seeks to change. We don't. I think it is a fair argument from traditional owners that of all the different groups in the community that might be responsible for the numbers of a species starting to deplete, it's not them. And there is a separate argument about culling where it has taken place by people who are not in fact the traditional owners of the particular area, and an argument that there is a rogue element which is involved in culling not for local or traditional use, but in fact for trade. This is something which the State Minister and I have been working on. I have a firm view that the way to deal with this is through finding mechanisms that work with Indigenous leadership. I have spoken to different groups, and everyone who knows Cape York knows there are very different groups across Cape York, and have spoken separately with each of them. I think if we want to find a solution to the rogue element which does exist in that part of our country with respect to dugong and sea turtle in particular, then we have to acknowledge it will never be able to be fully controlled. The only way to be able to fix what is a problem, it's not the principal cause of problem for these populations, but it's real, is to have mechanisms that allow for Aboriginal leadership to come forward and play a direct role. Now, the State Minister and I are working on that. We are very close to having a resolution, but part of having a resolution of this nature work properly is to make sure that it is not yet another case of governments telling traditional owners this is how it must be, because if you do that, you in the same instance very likely take away the opportunity for leadership that may actually be able to break some of the elements which are currently causing concern. Traditional owners will themselves talk about the concern that is there with the rogue element. They would like to be part of the solution, and the options that are put forward by the people named by the Shadow Minister, I've got to say, I think that would completely crush the opportunity for Aboriginal leadership to form a big part of the solution on that issue.